couple of days, I will do another video. We'll do your comments. Obviously, we did a number of them in the last few days, and I'm happy enough to do them when we win and when all the comments are very positive. I've got to be happy enough to do them when, maybe we don't win, and the comments are not quite as happy. Let's put it that way. This video isn't about that. There's a couple of things in the performance against Burnley which I want to pick up on, but I do want to make the point. There were a couple of comments in the review that I did with Gio, which were just so negative. I just wanted to address them now, just to really make it clear that I'm just looking at the game. I don't agree with those, and there's nothing wrong with disagreeing on comments. But there was one of the comments said, "That's it, it's all over. We're going to lose every game between now and the end of the season. Finish 10th now." Don't agree. And there was another one basically turned around and said, "We are a." Well, the word we are a poor team. We're a rubbish team, basically. But they used the words, not poor and rubbish, basically. I just don't agree. I don't think we go from being fantastic to terrible. I didn't think it was the worst performance in the world. That's my personal view of it. It's just, I just sometimes struggle, even though it's all about the comments, to go from Moyes is the saviour to Moyes out in a couple of days. Anyway, there you go. That's just my thoughts on it. I wasn't happy with everything in that game. Far from it. And I want to talk about a couple of things. Firstly, I would like to talk about Antonio. I think it was really evident towards the end of that game that Antonio isn't a striker. No news. I've not told you anything you don't know, of course, in that one. But it is definitely time for us to get a striker. We all know that. But I do want to place it against the context of how good he was against Lyon. And this is where I think it differs slightly. I think against Lyon, that was perfect for Antonio. And I mean Antonio as the player that David Moyes has converted him to. And Mikel Antonio cannot score at the moment. He does not score. But he does have a massive impact for the team. David Moyes said he thought that was one of Mikel Antonio's best performances away against Olympique Lyonnais. I thought it was as well, by the way. Because actually, when you're away from home against a team that have more possession than you, when you're trying to get up the pitch, when you have quite a few men behind the ball, when you're looking to give your players a rest, when you're looking to get your defence up as a unit, I mean, he's perfect. I mean, he's absolutely perfect. He can operate in any area of that front line. So he can stretch the defence by doing it through the middle, or he can do it right or left. He's also going to come back, 'cause he's quite a physical presence, and help you out in defence. I mean, and he has the legs, he has the pace for the counter-attack, and the strength to hold it up to allow you to get your players up the field. I would ask you to go and look at Mikel Antonio's role for Jarrod Bowen's goal, and the way he just pulls players out of the way, because they're scared stiff of him. However, that's not, it's a case of, I think, square pegs in round holes sometimes. That's not what we needed against Burnley. We needed someone a little bit more composed. We needed someone a little bit more clinical. And as I mentioned in the review, there were two decisions that I felt had to be made in that game as far as Mikel Antonio was concerned. And I thought there were patches when Antonio played well, by the way. But one of them was on the 86th minute, when really there were two players in better position. He shouldn't have chosen to shoot. Mikel Antonio, I understand him having confidence in his own ability, but sometimes I think, maybe you've got to realise, actually, I'm not in great form. He'd said as much himself recently, so I'm there to do a job for the team. Well, that was his opportunity right there. I mean, Declan Rice was unmarked in the box, square the ball, where he was going to shoot from, which I think was wide of the goal. 15, 16 yards out, was going to, against a keeper like that, very unlikely. What you do is you draw the keeper towards you, so the keeper's over this side of the goal and play it over there. Declan Rice has a tap him. He chose not to do it. And then finally, when they threw on goal, had a bit of a 2-on-1, didn't we? Jarrod Bowen played him through. He went past the defender. I think his first touch was good. And what you've got to do is you've got to back yourself. What you've got to do is you see with these strikers, you dink it over the keeper with your left foot, you place it to the left or the right of the goalkeeper. And he's just, because he's not, I think, number one, because he's not comfortable in his ability. Number two, because he's not fresh and he's not confident. He takes another touch, and a goalkeeper as good as Pope was, and didn't he have a great game, by the way, is just able to close it down and shut it out, really. And I think that was was really evident. So I don't think the game, that's just the reason I say this is because of a lot of the comments about Antonio's finished. And no, I just don't think he goes from brilliant to rubbish like that. And we all know we need to bring in a striker, but I do feel there is a situation now where actually Antonio does have his uses, and when he's not being used as a striker for games like Olympique Lyonnais, he can be used as a winger. But I do think it's really important we bring in a forward for different circumstances. A few people have said, again in comments, teams have sussed us out now. I think so in some ways, but I don't think there's an awful lot you can do about it. I don't mean us. I mean teams. I think Olympique Lyonnais had our number. There's precious little they could do about it. I think Aston Villa knew what we were going to do, but they couldn't really do much about it. Frank Lampard certainly knew what we were going to do, but he couldn't really do anything about it. Even when we played Liverpool, an absolute humdinger at the London Stadium, they knew what we were going to do. They couldn't actually do anything about it. There's nothing wrong with having a game plan, but teams deal with it in different ways. My point is, not everybody sits back against us. So it takes different things, but I think in a game against Burnley, where they're sitting back, you just need something a little bit different. Which brings me on to another area of the team, which I just want to talk about, which is obviously that left wing. Yes, I know I've discussed it before, but we've learned a little bit more today, I feel, and that is with Vlasic. I was really... Look, he doesn't have a trick. I think that's his first issue that I have of him playing there. I understand he might play more central for Croatia and where he's played before, and I think he had the best... Somebody said in the build-up show that he had the best pass completion rate of an attacking midfielder in the Russian league. I know that's a bit tenuous. Well, that's all well and good, but he's not going to play attacking midfielder for West Ham. He won't get the job. He won't get a job. I'll tell you why he won't get a job. Lanzini plays there. If Lanzini's not playing there, then you know what? Fornals will play there. Fornals won't play there. Ben Rama's going to play there, and that's only this season. Next season, we'll either bring in Lingard or we'll bring in somewhere else. There is no set of circumstances that are going to make it so as Nikola Vlasic plays centre attacking midfield on a permanent basis for West Ham. So what's that mean? You either accept that or you don't. If you do accept that that's going to be the case, I'm sure most of you agree that David Moyes is not going to play Vlasic as a central attacking midfielder for a period of time. Then you really have to appraise him as a left winger. He just doesn't seem to have the qualities for the job. Will he still have some use as a squad player? I suspect he just might. Now, I actually thought when Ben Rama came on, I thought Ben Rama actually looked quite sharp when he came on, to be fair, and I actually thought that the set of circumstances when Ben Rama arrived onto the pitch were perfect for him. Because I thought what we needed there was actually a technical player, we needed a tricky player, we needed to play some 1-2s, and we needed someone that was going to dribble and drive into the box and basically beat their man. My frustration with Vlasic was he didn't have a trick to get round his man. So I thought, well, Ben Rama's definitely the guy, and I thought he looked quite buzzy. Unfortunately, for all his skills, for all his tricks, what we needed him to do was dribble past a couple of players. We needed a little fake Ronaldinho for a bit, if you know what I mean. Either dribble through, get the cross in, get the ball, a little square pass, win a penalty, something like that. It just wasn't happening. And again, we give ourselves a problem with left wing. I think Fornals would have started if Fornals hadn't been absolutely knackered from the previous game. But as you know, I've laboured this point enough times already. He ain't no left winger either. So I felt that was a little bit evident in this game. The keeper we've just discussed to death on the review anyway. I mean, he looked really, really good, didn't he, Pope? And I just want to sort of reiterate what Gio alluded to, that Areola is definitely has to be a viable option going forward. He really does. I'd like him in the goal between now and the end of the season. Anyway, look, all in all, not a bad point, I think, in terms of... Look, I would have preferred 3, don't get me wrong, and I understand people are angry. I saw that in the chat afterwards. But it's still everything to play for. What we haven't done is done such a horrendous performance that we put ourselves out of it today. We're not out of it. We're still in the hunt. In 2 competitions, by the way, for Europe, in the Premier League and in Europe itself. Not great. We now get a week on a training field, and I really hope that we get to see a fit and firing, a really fit and sharp team when we play Chelsea.